Can people really see the future? Receive messages from across time and space? For centuries, seers and prophets have come forward, offering dramatic visions of mankind's destiny.
Prophecies always make people panic. Today, we're going to explore this year's prophecies from two of the most renowned prophets, Nostradamus and Baba Vanga. These prominent seers have foretold catastrophic scenarios for 2024, ranging from wars and natural disasters to economic crises that are said to unfold. What scary scenario awaits us in 2024? What prophecies have been fulfilled and will be fulfilled? Join us in this video when we reveal all the terrifying truths about what Nostradamus and Baba Vanga have predicted. Baba Vanga prediction. Baba, whose real name is Vangelia Pandeva Gushtrova, passed away in 1996 at age 84 and supposedly predicted events that terrified the world and even predicted her own death. Originally from Bulgaria, the clairvoyant believed she gained her powers during a terrible storm which led to her losing her sight at age 12. And since then, Baba has made predictions about a range of historic events. Baba Vanga is the name that terrifies humanity because of her prophecies. People all over the world are still interested and confused by these mysterious predictions, which cover a wide range of global events and phenomena. The blind psychic passed away in 1996, but left behind various predictions that have come true in the years following her death. For 2024, Baba Vanga has some predictions in store, with some equally as terrifying as those of the past. First, she claimed the world would face an economic crisis this year, and now the UK and Japan are grappling with just that. The Office of National Statistics confirmed that GDP fell by a larger than expected 0.3% in the 3 months to December in the UK. This is a result of a decline in all main sectors of the economy and collapses in retail sales. In Japan, the yen is currently at an all-time 34-year low, weakening to 151.97 against the US dollar. The country has now moved down to 4th position in global standings, being overtaken by Germany in 3rd. Baba Vanga's forecast of a major economic crisis impacting the global economy in 2024 raises concerns about the interconnectedness of geopolitical events and financial stability. Then, predictions of political upheavals and dangers are not limited to one area, indicating Vanga's vision of global tension. She talked about Putin in danger and European trials. The political upheavals as a result of the Russia and Ukraine war. Baba Vanga has predicted the assassination of Russian President Vladimir Putin. This prediction gains particular significance following a recent tragic event in Moscow that has shocked the world. The recent terrorist attack in Moscow, which claimed the lives of 133 individuals and left many more wounded, has sent shockwaves across Russia and beyond. President Putin addressed the nation, acknowledging the severity of the attack and vowing to pursue those responsible for organizing it. The attack, which occurred at the Crocus City Hall during a rock concert, marked one of the deadliest terrorist incidents in Moscow in over 2 decades. The tragedy has reignited concerns about security and terrorism in the region, prompting heightened vigilance and security measures. While authorities have detained suspects linked to the attack, including individuals with alleged ties to extremist groups, questions linger about the motives and origins of the assailants. Speculation and conspiracy theories have emerged, with some suggesting possible connections to larger geopolitical tensions and conflicts. Against this backdrop, Baba Vanga's prediction about a rise in terrorist attacks in Europe takes on added significance. Her mention of a big country conducting biological weapons tests or attacks adds another layer of complexity to the ongoing discussions about global security. Baba Vanga warned of increased terrorist activities in Europe and hinted at the possibility of a major country engaging in biological weapons testing or launching attacks. Presently, the Israel-Hamas conflict and Russia's invasion of Ukraine remain prominent issues. because the balance of international power has changed. Is China rising as many people think, or is Russia declining rapidly? Might be China's development cannot make up for Russia's decline, so the power to balance the West is gradually becoming weaker. There are more and more democratic countries, and their power is getting stronger, such as Eastern Europe and India. NATO is gradually expanding eastward, and a pattern of encircling China is also taking shape. Many territorial disputes between Russia and China are being unearthed from history. Russia's rule over Tatars, Chechnya, and many other ethnic states in the southwest, and China's rule over East Turkestan, Tibet, southern Mongolia, and Hong Kong are becoming less and less recognized by the world. The aftermath of the Moscow attack could potentially exacerbate existing economic challenges, leading to further uncertainty and volatility. Cyber attacks may be among the most impressive of Baba Vanga's predictions, since the internet was still in its very early stages when she passed away in 1996. The mystic predicted hackers would increase their attacks, especially against vital infrastructure, thus possibly creating security dangers worldwide. Most recently, the telecommunications giant AT&T recently announced a dataset found on the dark web contains information including some social security numbers and passcodes for about 7.6 million current and 65.4 million former account holders. Whether the data originated from AT&T or one of its vendors is still unknown, the Dallas-based company noted, adding that it had launched an investigation into the incident. AT&T has also begun notifying customers whose personal information was compromised. Apple, Meta, and X have all disclosed cybersecurity attacks over the past 12 months. And with the explosive development of technology, cyber attacks will continue for a long time. The psychic's other prediction was that we would have drastic developments in healthcare. The mystic predicted that new cures for diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer will be invented this year. It sounds unbelievable, but, nothing is impossible with the rapid development of world medicine. President Vladimir Putin recently said that Russian scientists are close to creating a vaccine for cancer that could soon be available to patients. He said, "We have reached a significant milestone in the development of cancer vaccines and next-generation immunomodulatory drugs. I hope that soon they will be effectively used as methods of individual therapy." However, he did not specify the types of cancer the proposed vaccines would target. Furthermore, recent developments have confirmed progress in the development of a lung cancer vaccine. The United Kingdom has allocated funding for 2 years of laboratory research and initial manufacturing of 3,000 doses for a DNA-based lung cancer vaccine, as stated in a press release from the University of Oxford, located in Oxford, England. It cannot be denied that the world will have a positive outlook for cancer patients, and we can fully expect that a miracle will happen in 2024. The prophetess had also foretold that there would be severe weather events and natural disasters this year. Global heat waves are happening 67% more often, according to a study in Science Advances. The study found the highest temperatures in the heat waves are warmer than 40 years ago, and the area under a heat dome is larger. From 1979 to 1983, global heat waves would last 8 days on average, but by 2016 to 2020, that was up to 12 days, the study said. The World Meteorological Organization said there is a high probability that 2024 will be another record-hot year. Nostradamus prediction. With the death of Queen Elizabeth, the Pope's abdication, the age of the Antichrist, the terrifying rise of AI, and nations becoming aggressive and bringing each other down, what is mentioned in the Bible is almost once again suggested. The accuracy of his predictions surprised the world. He is Nostradamus, the 16th century French astrologer. The Les Prophéties is said to be a secret book when recording Nostradamus's prophecies to this world. The more time passes, the more Nostradamus's prophecy is confirmed. Nostradamus was born in France in 1503. He first worked as a physician and began his medical practice in the 1530s, although he did so without a medical degree. He began making prophecies about 1547, and he published his prophecies in a book entitled Centuries. He wrote his prophecies in quatrains, 4 lines of rhyming verse. The quatrains were grouped in hundreds. Each set of 100 quatrains was called a century. Also known as the Prophet of Doom, the 16th century French philosopher is best known for his foreboding forecasts. This time, the Frenchman was credited with forecasting the powerful earthquake that rocked Japan on New Year's Day of 2024. Outlining his predictions for 2024, the oracle wrote, "The dry earth will become more parched, and there will be great floods." The psychic's followers reckoned that he could have been referring to the 7.5 magnitude tremor that struck the nation's western coast, killing 48 people, toppling buildings, and sparking 1 mm high tsunamis. According to reports, residents in coastal communities fled to higher ground as the waves battered the coast, sweeping houses and cars into the sea. Nostradamus's prediction was apparently not the only harbinger of a seismic calamity. Over the summer, divers in Taiwan encountered an injured giant oarfish, the doomsday fish, which is said to be a sign of impending earthquakes. This seismic superstition is based on Japanese mythology, which states that plankton eater, which lives between 200 meters and 1 kilometer below the ocean's surface, will intentionally rise to the surface ahead of an incoming tremor. The legend is that if you see an oarfish, doomsday fish, it is a warning sign from higher powers that disasters such as earthquakes are soon to occur. They referenced the 2011 Fukushima earthquake and tsunami, which saw dozens of these alleged seagoing seismometers wash ashore in the 2 years preceding the catastrophe. Psychic adherents also say that Nostradamus's dry earth prediction could be referring to the ongoing climate crisis, which has spawned an uptick in droughts and fires worldwide. Here, he mentioned climate catastrophe. Climate chaos has already begun with cases of wildfires, flooding, and drought increasing around the globe in recent years, especially in 2023. But what's interesting is how he seems to have foreseen these apocalyptic events all those centuries ago. He predicts, "The dry earth will grow more parched, and there will be great floods when it is seen." Elsewhere, he warns of storms leading to starvation. "Very great famine through pestiferous wave," he wrote. Nostradamus continued his prediction by predicting the farewell of Pope Francis. According to Nostradamus, we could be facing a year that could mean the farewell to Pope Francis, who at 87 years of age in 2024 has already gone through several health problems. The Pope had to skip the UN climate conference because of lung inflammation and breathing problems. Through the death of a very old pontiff, a Roman of good age will be elected. Of him it will be said that he weakens his see, but long will he sit and in biting activity, Nostradamus wrote. While the arrival of a younger, vigorous pope sounds like a good thing, Nostradamus immediately goes on to say that the new leader will weaken his see, and that he will be pope for a long time. The exact meaning of weaken is of course open to debate. Does he mean the influence of the church will somehow lessen, or is some greater scandal on the way? Well, only time will tell. However, it's essential to note that his writings, particularly in Les Prophéties, are written in a cryptic and metaphorical style that is open to various interpretations. Many of his quatrains are vague and can be applied to different events. The prophecy also predicted the confrontation between the US and China. Joe Biden tried to thaw relations with China when he and Xi Jinping met in November 2023 to discuss Taiwan, fentanyl, and climate change. However, Nostradamus's predictions suggest it could have all been in vain. In a verse which begins by describing combat and naval battle, he writes of how a red adversary will become pale with fear, putting the great ocean in dread. The red adversary could refer to China, given the color of their flag, and the references to naval conflict are eerie in light of escalating discussion about the state of Taiwan, with the island located at the junction of the East and South China Seas. and this is certainly a conflict to avoid if China is the adversary in question, with Beijing boasting the largest navy on the planet. One of Nostradamus's predictions that shocked the world was related to the British royal family. It is known that there will be a king who will ascend the throne to succeed Charles. But it wasn't William, it was Harry. It's surprising, isn't it? You know, recent speculation has surfaced regarding predictions made by 16th century astrologer Nostradamus, suggesting a tumultuous future for Britain's King Charles in 2024 after his cancer diagnosis, which was discovered when he was undergoing treatment for an enlarged prostate. Royal observers speculated that King Charles might step down, either voluntarily or due to pressure related to his health. The revelation of King Charles' cancer diagnosis has left many questions unanswered, with Buckingham Palace withholding details regarding the cancer type and stage. This lack of transparency has fueled both concern and speculation about the monarch's health and the potential implications for the British monarchy. In his renowned work, Les Prophéties, Nostradamus seemingly forecasted the monarch's downfall, including potential abdication or forced removal. Nostradamus predicted the potential abdication of a king and the rise of an unexpected successor, which now seems to echo the current situation involving King Charles and Prince Harry. The ancient prophet said the King of the Isles would be driven out by force and would be replaced by one who will have no mark of a king. Before that, he accurately predicted Queen Elizabeth II's passing at around the age of 96, a prophecy that aligned with Buckingham Palace's announcement of King Charles III's diagnosis following his mother's demise in 2022. However, the question of how Prince Harry, who has shown little interest in royal duties, would end up as king remains unanswered. The royal family has faced its fair share of scandals in recent years. However, the one that garnered the most headlines and caused papers and tabloids across the world to go nuts was Prince Harry's exit from the royal family and the fallout thereafter. Despite his decision to pull back from his familial duties, many wonder if Prince Harry could still rule as king. As is his birthright, otherwise known as birthright privilege, Prince Harry is fifth in line for the throne. In the instance of Charles's death, Prince William, Charles's firstborn son, is next in line for the throne. If something were to happen to William, Harry still wouldn't be next in line, as that would be William's firstborn Prince George, then Princess Charlotte, and finally, Prince Louis. If William were to abdicate, which is highly unlikely, and George was still under 18, then it's a different question. The role of regent means a person who governs a kingdom in the minority, absence, or disability of the sovereign would then perhaps go to Harry until George was old enough to take on his royal duties. Nostradamus predicting Harry would become his successor seems unlikely, but we will never know what will happen after it actually happens. Continue with a prediction about a huge famine brought on by a wave of pestilence. First, we talk about the famine. If we put Nostradamus's prophecy next to what the Bible teaches, you will see the coincidence that they both mention Famine. Back to the past, Israel occupied the rocky highlands of Canaan, the area of present-day Jerusalem and the hills to the north of it, rather than fertile coastal plains. Even in the best of years, it took enormous effort to coax sufficient sustenance out of the ground. The rainy seasons were brief. Any precipitation less than normal could be devastating. Across the ancient Near East, drought and famine were feared. In the 13th century BC, nearly all of the Eastern Mediterranean civilizations collapsed because of a prolonged drought. In the book of Deuteronomy, God proclaims that if Israel obeys the laws, the Lord will open for you his bounteous store, the heavens, to provide rain for your land in season. Disobedience, however, will have the opposite effect. The skies above your head shall be copper, and the earth under you iron. The Lord will make the rain of your land dust, and sand shall drop on you from the sky until you are wiped out. To ancient Israelites, there was no such thing as nature as we understand it today, and no such thing as chance. If things were good, it was because God was happy. If things were going badly, it was because the deity was angry. For a national catastrophe like famine, the sin had to lie either with the entire people or with the monarchs who represented them. And it was the task of prophets and oracles to determine the cause of the divine wrath. Famine was seen as both punishment and opportunity. Suffering opened the door for repentance and change. For example, when the famously wise King Solomon inaugurates the temple in Jerusalem, he prays that God will be forgiving when, in the future, a famine-stricken Israel turns toward the newly built temple for mercy. In the book of Samuel, we read that Israel endured a 3-year famine in the time of David, considered Israel's greatest king. When David inquires as to the cause of the famine, he is told that it is due to the sins of his predecessor and mortal enemy, Saul. For someone, famine was both an ending, the result of disobedience and sin, and also a beginning, a potential turning point toward a better, more faithful future. Second, many believe the wave of pestilence in Nostradamus's word, widely believed to describe deadly earthquakes. Let's take a closer look at these verses. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places, and famines. These are the beginning of birth pains. Doubtless, somewhere people will again start to use such disasters as signs that we are living in the last days. Or, to put it more accurately, since the New Testament consistently insists the last days began with Christ's first coming, they will insist that we are living in the last days of the last days. But wait, Revelation depicts apocalyptic earthquakes during the tribulation itself of a greater magnitude than anything the world has ever seen. But the place in Scripture where people turn to make a link between ordinary earthquakes and the nearness of the end is Jesus' Olivet Discourse. Earthquakes and famines? These are mere the beginning of birth pangs. In other words, just as labor pains remind a pregnant mother that there is a baby inside her that the body wants to bring into the world, so do these various earthly disasters remind believers that Christ will return, ending human history as we now know it. Nostradamus's predictions tended to be about general types of events, like natural disasters and conflict-related events that tend to occur regularly as time goes on. Some people believe that his prophecies have predicted actual events, such as the death of Henry II, the French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon, the rise of Adolf Hitler, and the nightmare of America. Others maintain that because his prophecies tend to be about general types of events that occur frequently throughout history, and are written cryptically and vaguely, it's possible to find one that seems to match almost any event that has occurred. The predictions of Nostradamus can be as accurate or as lax as you want to believe. The prophecies of Nostradamus were written in an ancient form of the French language, worded metaphorically. So many people feel confused about the authenticity of this man's prophecy. However, most of Nostradamus's prophecies have come true and are showing signs of coming true. We will learn about prophecies that came true later in this video. Let's wait and see. Belief comes from each person. You have the right to choose your decision, and whether it is true or not, we can only wait for time to prove it. 100-year-old predictions. Besides the predictions of Nostradamus and Baba Vanga nearly 100 years ago, a group of visionaries dared to imagine what life would be like in 2024. Let's gaze into that crystal ball from 1924. Movie mogul David Wark Griffith, the director of Birth of a Nation, believed that motion pictures would help usher in a new era of peace. Griffith predicted, "In the year 2024, the most important single thing which the cinema will have helped in a large way to accomplish will be that of eliminating from the face of the civilized world all armed conflict. Pictures will be the most powerful factor in bringing about this condition. With the use of the universal language of motion pictures, the true meaning of the brotherhood of man, will have been established throughout the earth. Through the magic of movies, British citizens would learn that Japanese people were kindred souls, and French nationals would discover that Americans shared their values and ideals. He added, "It is not to be presumed that I believe 100 years from now, the pictures will have had time to educate the masses away from discord and unharmony. What I do mean to say is, by that time, war, if there is such a thing, will be waged on a strictly scientific basis, with the element of physical destruction done away with entirely." At the other extreme, Professor Leo Hendrik Bakeland, a Belgian chemist and president of the American Chemical Society, worried that futuristic weaponry could obliterate humanity in the blink of an eye. He said, "The largest and best protected cities, irrespective of their size or distance, will be continuously exposed to destruction and mutilation. Death and torture of the inhabitants will occur whether they are slumbering in their beds at night, or whether they are reading their newspapers in their comfortable clubs, or saying their prayers in church. There will be no way of safeguarding women or children, the old or the infirm." Swedish architect Ben Bjorkson predicted that U.S. metropolises would demolish giant swaths of cities to alter the architectural plans of towns originally built by men to whom the automobile was only a fantastic dream. In the city of 100 years from now, I see three-deck roads, speedways through the heart of town, skyscrapers with entrances for automobiles as high as 15 stories, monorail expresses to the suburbs replacing streetcars and motor omnibuses, ever-moving sidewalks and underground freight carriers, which will go in all directions, serving all railway stations and business districts, and which will replace to a large extent the heavy trucks and wagons of today, Bjorkson noted. Professor Eustace Furlong, curator of the vertebrate collection at the University of Southern California, worried that horses, yes, horses, might be on the brink of extinction by 2024. He told in an interview, "Daily the tractor and the automobile are taking the place of the horse in rural life. As the usefulness of the horse passes, so will the necessity for his existence. Before many years, the use of a horse for the purposes with which he has been identified since time immemorial will be a curiosity. In another 100 years, you may find horses in zoos. I am sure you will not find them anywhere else." Frank L. Ferraro mapped out a clear vision of the future in a 1924 letter to the New York Daily News. Ferraro wrote, "Has anyone ever stopped to think how this country will be 100 years from now? Just imagine. We will have a woman president, woman politicians, and police. As women will occupy all the highest positions, naturally men will be compelled to do all the labor. Those who are not physically fit for such arduous jobs will have to stay home and wait on the babies or mind the pets. Then we will have an army entirely of women so that in case of war, women will do all the fighting." Rufus Bernhard von Kleinsmid, an American academic administrator, imagined the girl of tomorrow would be a goddess who likes to dance. He said, "She will be physically strong, vital, and alert, loving the out-of-doors and rejoicing in its lure, active in sports, engaging by choice in those to which a bit of risk adds the spice of danger. She will be beautiful, enhancing the qualities of inheritance through habits of temperance. Dancing will continue in its rush toward the exotic, and Terpsichore will be wild and full of animation. Mentally, she will be no sluggard, quick at wit, and keen of judgment. Spiritually, she will radiate love and goodwill. In trust of her fellow men, and with faith in God, it will be easy for her to be kind, and a joy for her to serve. Of creation, she will be the crowning glory, a benediction on earth, and a hymn of praise to heaven." Sir Kingsley Wood, a British politician speaking at a 1924 dinner in London, told his audience that there was no doubt that by 2024, the average expectation of life would be at least 100 years old, and a person at 75 would be a comparatively young man. He expected the rapid advance of science would ensure that the future grandchildren of those at the dinner would live many years longer than those present. He declined to speculate whether that future generation would be happier than the previous ones. Archibald Montgomery Lowe, a British scientist, imagined something that sounded eerily like the internet in his 1924 book, Wireless Possibilities. He said, "Doubtless in the future, we shall be able to sign our checks by the rapid transmission of motion. We shall be able to trace criminals, send out their fingerprints, and carry on very many classes of business which, at present, require our bodily attention. What a help to the man who objects to a large city. Why could he not conduct his business from his house in comfort instead of having his spats washed every week in order to maintain his financial reputation?" New York City real estate mogul Joseph Paul Day expected the daily commute to work would be a lot different in 2024. The dirigible and the airplane promised to be the most important factors in the transformation of the suburbs and in bringing the outlying sections of the city as close to the heart of things as the nearby boroughs are today. The airplane is in its infancy, but its development as a commercial proposition will move rapidly from now on. When this method of transportation is perfected and the sky is black with aerial flivvers, it will be the everyday occurrence for the businessman to fly from home to office and back home again, he told a radio audience. Russell Lowell Maugham's dawn to dusk transcontinental flight of 1924 was a national triumph. What can there be left to conquer by 2024? Will some daring American 100 years hence, traveling in a machine we would think impossible, race the daylight hours around this globe and win? Who shall say? Maugham's flight would have seemed impossible a century earlier to pioneers in covered wagons. Perhaps by 2024 we shall be in direct communication with other worlds, making arrangements through signals to conduct an expedition thither. But we dare not predict that in seriousness.